recorder.
All right, I've got to turn on the sound.
And Kevin's going to go turn on the sound. Hello, Mr. Bowen.
How are you?
I'm living the dream, Patrick. Yourself?
Feeling alone today.
You missed me, didn't you?
I know that phrase, Patrick.
Patrick and I are going to create a dictionary in retirement, and the word fun for municipal fund versus regular fund doesn't mean the same thing.
Okay, we're good.
All right, could everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we get started tonight, I did want to ask for a moment of silence. One of our former colleagues, Ricky Collin, passed away. Ricky was a longtime town clerk for the town of Plattsburgh. Out of respect for him and his family, we could give him a moment of silence. Thank you. In response to COVID-19, the town board continues to use a hybrid model for our town board meetings. This adaptive practice comes from the advice of the Association of Towns and in consultation with our town attorney. We do this in the interest of public health. I would like to call this meeting to order tonight, officially at 6:01 p.m. Can I get a roll call, please?
Michael Cashman,
Present.
Thomas Wood,
Here.
Meg Button,
Here.
Barbara Hebert,
Here.
Charles Costick,
Here.
James Coffey,
Here.
and I'm present.
Resolution 31, approve the minutes of the previous meeting.
Resolve that the minutes of January 14, 21, and 28, 2021 be approved and the reading of the minutes be dispensed
Is there a
with.
motion?
I'll move.
Costick, is there a second? Tom Wood, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Is there anything for public comment this evening? I just do want to acknowledge and thank our legislator, Wendell Hughes, for being in attendance. It's always nice to see you in the crowd. Moving forward to Resolution 33, the monthly department reports. Oh, hold on, sorry. Abstract, 32 abstract.
Resolved that the abstract of audited claims number 2B-21 for $409,146.06. Abstract 2B-21 prepays for the amount $1,190,739.10 be received as reviewed by the audit committee, and the supervisor is hereby authorized to pay said abstract.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
I'm gonna go Hebert, and who was the second?
Wood.
Wood. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
So does pass, thank you. Mine have little clips on them, so that's why they often get stuck, so I apologize for that. Resolution 33, the monthly department reports.
Resolved to receive and place on file monthly department head reports, buildings and grounds for January, dog control officer January, highway superintendent January, parks and recreation January, water, wastewater January, codes and zoning January, supervisors financial report January, and town clerk January.
Is there a motion?
I'll move.
Wood, is there a second?
Second.
Caustic, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
So does carry. Resolution 34, revised rules and regulations for the town clerk of Plattsburgh Community Mausoleum.
Whereas, rules and regulations were adopted by the town board on August 15, 2016, to secure the peace and good order of the mausoleum and cemetery grounds, to preserve the beauty of the grounds, and to protect the interest of the lot and grave owners, as well as the taxpayers of the town of Plattsburgh. And whereas the rules and regulations were reviewed and revised with ownership transferred to the town, and whereas a copy of said proposed rules and regulations are attached hereto and made a party hereof, and be it resolved, the rules and regulations be adopted, and all persons are required to observe these rules and regulations and are urged to report any infraction. And be it further resolved that a full copy of the rules and regulations be available at the office of the town clerk, the mausoleum, and the town's website.
Is there a motion?
I'll move.
Wood, is there a second?
Second.
Bobbin, any discussion?
Just, thank you to, Kevin and Mark for stepping in. The one question that I had, whether we're able to get that corrected for, this evening.
Yeah, appreciate that, Chuck.
And I would just echo thanks to Tom, Kevin, Barb, and Jim for putting a lot of work into this. We always anticipated that these rules would be revised after a period of ownership. Initially, the rules were really set forward with a conversation with Connie Goddard during that pre-receivership period. So these should stand for a long period. So can I get a roll call, please?
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Meg Bobbin,
Yes.
Barbara Hebert,
Yes.
Charles Costick,
Yes.
Michael Cash.
Yes, resolution does carry. Resolution 35, independent contractors for engineering consulting services, 2-year, 2021-2022.
Wow. Excuse me. Whereas Resolution 20-177 requesting proposals from qualified registered engineering firms in New York State to provide professional engineering, consulting, and related services for the planning and community development and codes department, and whereas RFPs have been received and 6 highly qualified firms with varied specialization have been identified that best suit the needs of the planning and community development and codes departments. And whereas the town of Plattsburgh Town Board, along with the planning and community development and codes departments, have reviewed the engineering firms and wish to enter into a 2-year agreement as needed with AES Northeast, AEDA, Bayhand Planning and Design, Chasing Companies, Elan, and LaBerge Group to provide services as noted in the RFP, the scope of services. Now therefore be it resolved, I'm so sorry, that the town board hereby determines that the supervisor be duly authorized and empowered to execute these agreements on behalf of the town of Plattsburgh, and that a copy of this resolution be given to the planning and community development, codes, and zoning departments.
Is there a motion?
So,
There was a bunch there, so I'm going to ask for it again.
nobody wants to now.
I'm going to go with Meg Bobbin. Is there a second?
Costa can't speak up. Second it.
Okay, Barb Hebert. Any discussion? The only thing I'll offer is this is what we did a couple of years ago. This has worked out really well, and I just want to thank Trevor Cole and his team for his hard work on this. All right. I'm going to ask for a roll call on this one.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Meg Bobbin,
Yes.
Barbara Hebert,
Yes.
Charles Costick,
Yes.
Michael Cashman.
Yes, resolution approved. Resolution 36.
Do you want me to read some of these, Kevin's,
I don't know what happened, I just had a little.
I can read this one. Largely because I want to make sure it picks up on the camera here. Resolution 36, interim license agreement with NYSEG for Trade Road, whereas the town desires to use a portion of the premises known for NYSEG limestone substation property and on the lands identified in the town of Plattsburgh map parcel number 193-2-20.3, located at the 40 Trade Road, to continue with the installation and maintenance of the water lines in the town. Whereas New York State Electric and Gas has agreed to allow the town to install and maintain a water main on said parcel and has submitted to the town of Plattsburgh an interim license agreement to allow for the installation and the construction of a water main. And whereas the interim license agreement will allow the water main construction to continue into the expeditious manner with a final permit easement and prepared to New York State Electric Gas for filing at the county clerk's office, and whereas due to the procedures in the New York State Electric and Gas required to perform by law, it is not expected that the permanent easement will be provided for 18 to 24 months. And whereas the cost of the associated with the easements are outlined in the interim license agreement and are in the amount of $5,925, and the payment is not due until such time as the permanent easement is provided, and whereas the town attorney has provided said proposed interim license agreement easement as to form. Now, there it is resolved that the town board of the town of Plattsburgh does here authorize the supervisor to execute the interim license agreement. Resolved, a copy of this be given to the director of water and wastewater, town clerk, the finance manager, and Cool Insurance. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Chuck Costick, is there a second? Who is second?
Second.
Mark Eager. Oh.
Yeah, no, Meg, Bobbin, is there any, discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye, so does carry. Do you want me to read this one,
No,
Kevin?
I'm good, I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Resolution 37, appointment of the designated employee of Representative Durr, Nikki Martin.
Whereas the supervisor on behalf of the town board recommends the appointment of Nikki Martin, senior town clerk for the town employee to serve at the pleasure of the supervisor and the town board as a designated employee representative, therefore be it resolved that Nikki Martin be assigned to act as a point of contact for all related issues and oversee the regulations that are followed. Be it further resolved, a copy of this resolution be given to the finance manager and a copy be placed in her personnel file.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Wood, is there a second?
Second.
Bobbin, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye,
Aye.
so does carry. Resolution 38, appointment of a designated employee representative Durr Karen Pepper.
Whereas the supervisor on behalf of the town board recommends the appointment of Karen Pepper, account clerk / typist for the town of Plattsburgh, to serve at the pleasure of the supervisor and the town board as a designated employee representative. DER, therefore be it resolved that Karen Pepper be assigned to act as a point of contact for all related issues and oversee that regulations are followed. Be it further resolved, a copy of this resolution be given to the finance manager and a copy be placed in her personnel file.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Hebert, is there a second?
Second.
Costick, any discussion? Seeing none,
Thanks to Mel for doing that for 14 years and to Karen and Nikki for taking it on. It makes sense to have it in that office now.
yeah, we're gonna continue to centralize some different things in the weeks and months ahead, so, but you're correct, a big thanks to Mel for all that. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
So does carry. Resolution 139, a 2021 Twin State Update Service Agreement.
Whereas the town of Plattsburgh has identified a need to provide an updated telephone hardware, software, and system support, and has a contact track with Twin State for services needed, and whereas the town board has provided within the general fund of the town of Plattsburgh 2021 budget for the contract with Twin State in the amount of $5,550.41. And whereas the town attorney has approved as to form for the contract submitted by Twin State, now therefore be it resolved that the contract submitted by Twin State be approved and the supervisor is authorized to execute the same for the town of Plattsburgh, and a copy of this resolution be given to the finance manager.
Is there a motion, and then we'll give some further context?
So moved.
Costick, is there a second?
Second.
Bobbin? So I want to just give you some additional information as we've been talking about the remote work experience. This is part of it to connect the laptops for the phone. This will not be acted on until we can get the other components, but we couldn't allow for the two streams to not be ready to go. I noted to some folks before that PrimeLink was acquired by a company called First Light. We are still waiting on them to respond to an element of this, but this will allow for our ability to, I'm using very soft language here because I don't want to make it seem like I'm the tech guy, but basically to network or patch the computers to headsets. We did not get we're not getting 15 licenses for this. We don't feel that we need to do a full scale for that. We're looking at 5 for now, for some need, and when we go into executive session later on, I do need to have some further conversation about work remote, about one particular employee in a completely different capacity. So just giving you a heads up, okay?
Michael, do you anticipate any additional technical services for that laptop?
The laptops, it's not just the laptop, we're still trying to Between First Light and StoreTech, there is stuff kind of in the server arena that does still need to take place. It is, I think it's been fair enough to say it's been frustrating with one of our vendors to get stuff onboarded. It was communicated with us that they had completed what they needed to do, and in fact, they never even started it. So, without getting too far into the weeds on that. Okay, so, can I get all those in favor, please, say aye. Aye. So carries, thank you. At this point, before entertaining going into an executive session, Patrick Bowen, our finance manager, is here tonight to have some conversation about just kind of where we stand with the finances. So I'll toss it over to you, Patrick.
Mike, so I'm just gonna focus on the year ending December 31st, 2020, that's our last year. I sent out an email to Michael this afternoon, or this morning, I'm sure he forwarded it to you guys. So I'm gonna start on the first sheet that just does the budget to actuals. I'm actually gonna look at, it's about 2/3 way down, it says 2020, and it's revenues and expenditures, encumbrances, and whether we had excess or deficits. So if you take a look at that, all our funds had excess of revenues over expenditures, except for the consolidated ambulance, which was down $25,000. That is a planned deficit. We had probably 3 years ago about $250,000 cash sitting in the consolidated ambulance fund. We wanted to reduce that down because that's an excessive amount for us to have for that fund. So we've been whittling away about $25,000 a year. We're gonna get it down to about $100,000 to $125,000 in case we do have any kind of emergencies or hiccups along the way. So that one was planned. It was a nice surprise to see that we actually ended up with excesses in all the other funds, considering what we were looking at in March and April of this year. So we're just gonna hit the major funds. General fund, obviously everybody wonders how that one was doing. So that one actually had a excess of $268,000. Some of the revenues that came in stronger than predicted were sales tax. That was up $120,000. Our mortgage tax was up $51,000. These are from budget amounts for 2020. And our building permits were up $95,000. We took a huge hit on justice fines. That was down $135,000 this year. So, and I see that trend for justice courts continuing.
Yes.
Mortgage tax last year was, I would say the market was very hot for sales for homes. So that one may go down also. So those would be some of the areas. And sales tax, I do not have any numbers for 2021 yet. Still a little bit early. I know the county is very busy this time of the year, trying to wrap up the year end as we are. So I haven't got the first month of 2021 yet, so I can't really tell you what kind of trend we're looking at yet. So we'll talk more about sales tax a little bit later. So obviously we talked about when the pandemic started that we were going to cut down, we do essential spending, no equipment capital outlay. I think that really helped us reduce our expenditures quite a bit. Just trying to see. So our expenditures from 2019 to 2020 were down $105,000. And I know we had some big ticket items on the slate for 2020 that are still in the holding pattern. So I know the street was one of the projects that we were looking at. There's a few vehicles that needed to be purchased in the rec department and in the buildings and ground department. So we'll be looking at those probably in 2022, the vehicle part of it. So
Were any of
Tom.
those encumbrances? Have you listed, no. Pat, if you don't mind, just interrupt for 1 second. Kevin has talked to me about this, and I'm not sure what is the situation with the justice fines?
much fines we are collecting.
I mean, are there fewer people going through the court system?
Yes.
I would say,
That's the simplest answer, Jim, is there are less people going through the system, and also the timetable has changed dramatically, and even the processing of things. And
Everything is slowed down.
yeah, a lot of it's got pushed back,
Okay,
because courts were closed.
yeah, okay, that makes sense.
They're still working through the virtual part of it, so.
There was a big reduction in vehicle traffic infraction, March, April, May too. The police kind of had hands off. They only went after the egregious violators.
Okay, all right, that makes good sense.
And there just weren't that many people on the roads either.
So that's how I got through that, this period of time there. That's why I don't
I
have
was
any
looking for
tickets.
the guy in the Prius.
Don't count on that for 2021, so. As far as expenditures, other expenditure goes for the general fund, most of them were, pretty small amounts that were down on the budget, so there's not anything really significant, so. We did get our bill for election services today, which we budgeted 57,000, it came in about 35,000 for 2020, so. That was actually good to see, because we were a little concerned that,
and one
we were gonna hit that $60,000 mark, so.
One of the reasons I think it's I think important to note is the county ledge listened to people when Mark Dame resigned, and there was no short candidates at that point. They did an appointment for a period of time and waited for an election cycle. So there was in part a cost savings to the town of Plattsburgh. So that was a good thing for us.
But are we gonna, you think we're gonna take a greater hit if we open up some of these other polling sites? I mean, there's gonna have to be an increase in manpower, I think, to some extent.
In large part, we're gonna maintain the sites that we had. And I think what we're gonna see is, in the future, how things get consolidated overall. So, I mean, personally, my opinion is that it's a town obligation to help facilitate those elections. It's a cost that we have to pay. I think everybody's gonna be watching it a lot. But I also think that over the course of this year and next year, for example, with election reform, we may see some changes that could provide some cost savings as well as empowering the electorate, so.
Yeah, and I'm not concerned so much about the cost itself, but for budgeting
Yep.
purposes.
Yep.
And anything, I agree, I don't like the fact that we didn't have the number of polling places available that we typically do.
Thanks for bringing that up, Pat, because I did see that in the vouchers last.
Just one caveat I wanted to extend, these numbers don't reflect the vouchers as of today. In order to get these numbers out, I had to go up to the last abstract. So these numbers, the only thing that's gonna increase is our expenditures, revenues are all set for the year, so. So we'll take a little hit and probably each one of these funds will go down a little bit.
Pat, can I just ask you two questions? On this consolidated ambulance, we have, the revenue is, I think, about 450,000.
Yep,
That comes from what source?
all taxes. All taxes and interest.
Okay, and what money do we receive, isn't there certain monies we receive that the areas like Morrisonville collect and so forth, CBPH or not?
We don't. So what we,
Unless they hit that threshold.
correct.
All right.
So the contract
Tell
was,
me that.
what, two or 3 years ago, I believe, where they keep the receivables. In the past, we used to get they used to pay us the receivables, then we turn around and write them a check for them to keep it, and we thought that wasn't the most efficient way, so they keep the receivables, and then we were able to lower our amount that we actually collect our taxes.
Okay, and just one other item on the water and sewer administration, that seems to be off a bit. Wait a minute.
It's 83.2%, and it's not close to 100 in terms of percentage of budget year to date.
Okay, I'm working my way down the list, so So they came in pretty close. They did get their full amount of sales tax revenue that they had budgeted for 2020. So we did get, they did sell some equipment. We got an extra $16,000 out of that. Most of the things that were down were diesel fuel. They didn't total out on all the paving that they could have done. We were down on curbing, which we haven't done, and salt, they were down. Those are the biggest expenditure items that they were down on. So. I don't know if there's any other questions on highway.
What money that, there wasn't any excess money in highway, is that right, after the encumbrances?
There's about 10,000 left, and I know we have some expenditures that were paid on the vouchers or the abstract today, so they might be actually being pretty close to zero on that.
Okay, now, we budgeted less for expenditures, correct?
Or when?
Well, when we started this budget last year, we cut the amounts that we expected to get, and I assume from there, we also did not expend all the money that was allocated.
We didn't expend all the money that was appropriated, budgeted for. Because what you budget for and money are two different things. So we did, if you look at the top, under expenditures, it shows you what the original budget was.
Right.
What we actually spent. So we're at 84.5% of what we budgeted for is what they have spent so far.
Okay.
Is that good?
Well, I just, they obviously, that either that money didn't come in, or we have it, available to us for this next year, is that?
There is a fund balance, but, we don't wanna get it to the point where we don't have any money left in their fund balance, in their fund. And with the 2021 budget, we put in a, operating deficit of $375,000 because of the reduction in sales tax that we projected.
I expected we're just below 3 million that we projected for the 2021, sales tax revenues. So I can see where that's down, quite a bit. I assume that we're going to have to cut more in the budgets in order to meet that.
Well, we're gonna monitor the situation and see how it goes. If the sales tax doesn't come in very well, then yes, we will have to do that.
But that's Tom, why we've been really looking at it on a quarter-to-quarter basis, because 2021 was the year for forecasts that could be most problematic, with a number of pressure points, that are coupled with sales tax, the Canadian border being closed, and on and on. So we took a very conservative pre-approach to make sure that we were in a pretty strong position, that anything positive would allow us to do more. So.
Okay, so when you projected these revenues, is that what you worked with the county on or whatever, because that's about 512,000 less than 2020?
We looked at a number of things. We were looking at what the comptroller was having conversations about. We were looking at what the county had shared. We looked at what the Association of Towns was having for some conversation. So I think it was approximately 20%, that we were looking at as it related to sales tax to be on the more conservative side of things. Again, at the end of this the 2020 last quarter, things were a little bit better than they were. But knowing that the first quarter of the new year could set us off on a trajectory that could be a little bit more shaky, that's why we wanted to put ourselves in a better position. So.
Okay, so that $512,000 less that we're projecting, that's the 20%.
I'm not sure where you're
revenues projection says $2,945,474. And if you look at the expenditures, or, you know, for this year, not the expenditures, but the actual for, say, the general budget, you see that, that's down already, and I assume that it's gonna go down more from there, because we're going 20% less, correct?
Not necessarily. We have projected 20% less. We don't know where that number's gonna go, Tom.
Right. It could be less than 20%.
Could be less, it could be more. We could have the total, the border closes, every business closes, and we could have half this, 50% of the sales tax that we budget.
Well, it looks to me like sewer, water, consolidated water, everything except for the general and the highway is going to come out even or above.
Correct.
So we really only are concerned with the 20% for the general and the highway.
Well, they're the only ones that get the sales tax, is general and highway. None of the other funds are allowed to have the sales tax.
At this point, what percentage of sales tax versus tax, sales tax versus, the revenues that we bring in for highway, is the sales tax 50% of highways funds?
I would say I don't have that figure right off the top of my head, Tom, so I'm gonna spitball it, but I would say it's probably close to 40%. 40 sales tax, 40.
That was off a little bit. Okay. All right, so 40%. All right. So that 20% dip there wouldn't include that. That would be just the sales tax we're talking about.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And then there is CHIPS money that we're not sure where they're going right now. There has been some discussion on that, but normally there's Pave New York, there's emergency winter recovery, and then there's the CHIPS portion of it. And I think they've already cut out the emergency winter recovery part of that, so they're only looking at the CHIPS and Pave New York. And I'm not sure where those numbers are coming in yet. New York State hasn't done their budget and finalized it yet, so we won't really know that until March.
That's what we're usually doing, making up a budget, knowing nothing.
Tom, I would say that after this first quarter, I think it's going to give us the strongest sense of the upcoming landscape, because that is going to position us to understand where New York State's 2022 budget is moving towards. It will also give us a sense for what the county is preparing to do for the following year as well. So, this first quarter, that last quarter was troublesome because we weren't sure how it was going to end for us. We were in a better position than we thought, but this first quarter is the one that's going to kind of set the landscape for how we proceed in the year. And I think we're doing really good to kind of drive with the brake on. Everybody has been doing a really good job, particularly holding their expenses down. People are still buying, if they need a screwdriver, for example, we're still buying a screwdriver. I mean, we're not doing the business of the town and the essential services, but there is a limitation to what we're doing. And also a good quality of life, for our programs too. But we're really monitoring it, and we're continuing to use the behavior from almost a year in 2020 into 2021.
Okay, so basically we're looking at not spending anything in first quarter for any particular things that, other than necessities, until we see how much comes in, so that we're talking about not knowing until about April 15th. Is that right?
It all depends on when the county gets the sales tax numbers.
Well, the rate it's going, usually it's a month and a half after.
Yeah, approximately. I think it's fair to say, Tom, approximately around that period.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions on highway at all? So, the water and sewer accounts, they all are based on obviously, if you have water, you have to pay your water bill, and sewer, you have to pay your sewer bill. About 2 to 3 years ago, we started building in an annual increase into the water and sewer, so we could maintain the system. Prior to that, I don't think the rates have been raised in probably 9 to 10 years, I would say. So we try to do an increase each year to help offset the cost of our operations and the maintenance of our equipment. As you all know, we did a extensive renovation on all our water towers and got them up to a really high standard right now. We are working with Suez to contain that high standard. So there is some maintenance, annual maintenance that is built into all these budgets for both consolidated and base water. So we're also updating some of our lift stations and our base water mains. So there is going to be some debt associated with that. As you all know, we went out to this summer for a bond. We went out for a $10 million bond and came back with a 1.64% interest rate on a 20-year bond. So I think that worked out really good in our favor, especially during these economic times and the pandemic. So any increases we really see in those funds is really going to just be related to debt. So. Let's see. Okay, there's not really anything significant. You know, we've seen increases in all the user fees just because of the annual increases we built into each one of those funds. Equipment capital outlay is down on all of these funds just because we put that on hold when the pandemic hit. So just so you're aware too, the water and sewer admin is financed by the other water and sewer departments. So we try to monitor that every year to give them some thumbnails for the water sewer admin, but not make it excessive. Because we'd rather have the money into each one of the funds so we can use that money for upgrades to the system or for repairs or whatever. So Tom was commenting on the water sewer admin, how the revenues were down just because they're funded through the water and sewer funds. And if we don't feel we need to transfer over excess money, we won't do that. So we cut back on that. So you'll see the water sewer admin revenues were down about $400,000 this year because we just didn't feel we needed to bring that over. There wasn't any major purchases being done out of the water sewer admin. Normally, like last year, we bought a camel truck out of there, so we didn't have to push over a lot of money from the water sewer funds there. But this year, cutting back, we didn't buy any equipment, so we didn't feel we needed to push that over. So.
Patrick, we talked about this before, I think, how close, I know we're not quite there yet, but we've made dramatic improvement. How close are we to solvency, would you say?
That's always a great question. I would say,
I don't think it's that far off, Patrick,
Yeah, I
from the
think
numbers that Scott.
I think we're a lot better off than we have been in the past.
Right, Chuck had mentioned that he thought we were edging towards that, I think we're off like 10% or whatever.
I don't think it's even that much.
Yeah, and I think we're upgrading all of our equipment, so that's going to help us reduce our repairs and maintenance too. So
We're heading in the right direction.
yeah.
Well, I think Mike would agree that really the thought process is, you know, to make sure that we continue to take the rates up as such that it gets us so we're even. There was a professors at Plattsburgh State that wrote an article that we read there.
Oh, you can never,
Brilliant souls that they are.
never in a million years.
Yeah, we're trying to, those funds are self-sustaining, so they don't get money from anywhere else. So we have not borrowed any money to finance operations. It's all just been for the capital projects.
Yeah.
You know, especially you have to watch out for professors that are lawyers too.
Never in.
They're the sneakiest ones.
Being a professor doesn't make you, anyways.
Chuck and Meg, a key component of this is preventative maintenance. It's also been built into our process.
Oh. Well, that in fact, that May Courier maybe will be on
Online.
your first part of next year. At least going to break ground and get home with that. So efficiency also.
Right.
Well, you know, gets to an item that we've talked about for a long time, is taking the politics out of water, in the sense of we need to maintain our infrastructure. It is a critical thing regarding the health and safety, sustainability, and economic development of our region and our township. So, I mean, it really boils down to it. All those funds were intended by you.
Seems to be okay.
All right?
Is
Anything else?
there any other questions you have? I'm just trying to do a brief overview for you, but if there's any numbers you want me to dive into or work up for you, I'm more than happy to do
We
that.
want you to dive too far, we might have to do something.
You know, if there's any reports you want me to provide you, I'm more than happy to do that.
Well, this is a great job and it's very clear too, so.
I'm trying to make it simple so you can take a quick look at it.
No, that's perfect, that's the way it should be.
There is a detailed budget to actual report that's 38 pages.
Oh, I want
I'm
that.
more than happy to send that to you so you can go
Yeah,
through that.
I can't see.
Send that one to Tom.
Yeah.
That is actually available every month.
Expect that coming, expect long meetings.
All right. Being mindful of Patrick's time, I just want to wrap up and just express my deepest appreciation to the good work that he does every single day. You know, as we were entering a period of the great unknown and the turbulent times that we have had, Patrick has really been most helpful, and he and I talk daily about these things. And by extension, I want to thank again Barb and Chuck on the audit committee, because you know, it is a team approach to all of this type of stuff. I mean, we need to continue to do the good work with our department heads to watch the bottom line. There's still a lot of unknowns ahead of us. You know, 2021, we're still in the early periods of it. So I'm confident that we will get through it together. I'm not speaking with rose-colored glasses here, but I do believe that we have a methodology that we're using that will put us in the best position, not only for this year, but to enter into 2022, you know, and you know, protect the taxpayers, but also to provide the essential services that, you know, people are reliant on. So.
I did just want to finish up, we didn't talk about the sales tax revenue chart that I sent to you, but I just wanted to give you a little history on what the sales taxes look like. And it's been fairly consistent over the last 5 years. We haven't had any huge bumps up or down. Obviously 2021 is a projected number, and we took a big jump down on that because of the 20% reduction. Hopefully we won't hit that number, we'll actually be above that number, but we were being very conservative. Some of the things that, you know, we're obviously looking at is 2020, we had a lot of big ticket item sales, a lot of cars were selling, a lot of people were remodeling their houses because they didn't have anything else to do, they were staying home, so we saw that all throughout Plattsburgh where you couldn't get certain kinds of lumber and stuff like that. So I'm not sure how that's going to affect us in 2021, because once you buy a car, you're not going to probably buy another one this year. So also, you know, gas prices always affect this. So gas prices have gone up a little bit. So that might help us drive the sales tax up. You know, Mike Serlo and I are the only ones in Clinton County that get excited when the sales tax or the price of gas goes up. So we'll be monitoring these on a weekly basis to see where we're at. So as soon as I can get the numbers from Clinton County, I'll forward them on to you. So just so you're aware. So.
I get excited about that too, I save a lot more money with my car.
Patrick rides a bicycle, you drive a Prius, so of course you people are happy. So, all right.
I got 100 miles to you know, a gallon of soda, I guess.
Any other comment?
I put 2 gallons in, I pulled the car up twice this last year, yes.
All right. Any other comments or questions? All right.
Any other question on the sales tax?
Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much, Patrick.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick.
I am gonna seek a motion to go into an executive session regarding the work history of one specific individual and the ongoing pending litigation with the city of Plattsburgh as it relates to annexation. Is there a motion to the effect?
So moved.
Barb Hebert, is there a second?
Second.
Costick. Can I get a roll call, please?
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Meg Bobbin,
Yes.
Barbara Hebert,
Yes.
Charles Costick,
Yes.
Michael Cashman.
Yes, we will enter executive session at 6:46 PM with no action to be taken.
Have a good night. Good easy, Michael.
Have a good night,
Bye, Wendell.
Hi, Wendell, thanks for coming.
See you later.
and I'm just giving Kevin an opportunity to shut off the recorders.